I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Directors regular meeting for the August 22nd. And if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make an addition to the agenda. After the approval of the minutes, we're going to have the 2020 plan. And because the financial reports is in your packet and on the web page, we're going to skip over that tonight and go right into the other information. So those two changes, if you would, please. At this time, we're going to celebrate success, which is always an important part for us.
Now it's on. We'd like to recognize tonight Tommy Carter and Chris Anderson first, if they could come forward, please. There's their certificates there. They were nominated by Tommy Lee. Thanks for coming in tonight. And Tommy says, I would like to nominate Tommy Carter and Chris Anderson for Celebrate Success. They have been an integral part of Lake Point's sales growth in 2019. Tommy and Chris are often mentioned on our various online platforms and social media. They don't just have returning guests, they have fans. Tommy is known for her bright smile, cheerful attitude, and personable service, calling everyone by name. Her guest return rate for newbies is one of the highest I've seen in my 30-plus years. She is also a favorite at Highlands Pub. Chris is known as everyone's favorite neighborhood bartender. He'll start making your favorite beverage when you walk in the door, call you by name, and have it in front of you as you sit at the bar. His creativity and showmanship with craft cocktails has sparked a trend of people taking pictures of their cocktails and posting them online. These two are setting the standard for service excellence in Bella Vista, and I've certainly seen that myself. Let's give them both a round of applause. Next up, we have Mr. Gil Rodriguez. Gil, thanks for being here. There's your certificate. Gil is actually in the HR department, so he reports to me, so I'm very fond of the work that he does. I see it every day, but he was actually nominated by Mike Taggart, and I'd like to read what Mike has written about Gil. Gil is a great asset to us here at the MAC Water Utility Division, as well as the entire POA organization. It is no small task to weed through all the applications that come through HR across his desk to keep our division fully staffed with much-needed employees, as our success depends on it. Gil continually works hard to make sure this happens. He is quick to assist us with the hiring process, making sure nothing is missed, even helping staff with the paperwork that goes with it. My staff has mentioned to me numerous occasions where Gil has went out of his way and is quick to assist them, as well as myself, in the hiring process without any complaints from him. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that Gil does and provides for us goes unnoticed, but we all very much appreciate his efforts. There is no doubt that Gil is very deserving of the Celebrating Success recognition for his tireless efforts for making our teams here at the POA a success. Congratulations, Gil. Thank you. Next, we'll call up Mike Taggart and Rick Eccles.
Okay, I have a couple of the individuals couldn't make it tonight, but as I read this, I'll discuss their names as well. On the afternoon of August 9th, around 5 p.m., Ranger Dylan Grisham received a call report of a hurricane boat that was in the process of sinking at the marina. The stern was already underwater and it was leaking oil and gas. He properly put spill retention recovery items in place and called Greg Cowan, the other ranger on duty. After assessing the situation, they called Senior Ranger Bob Walker, who was not on duty, but Bob turned around and called Lee Kronick, who was also off duty, and they both soon arrived at the scene. By this time, the owner and his son also had been contacted and were on site. The owner and the son attempted to get multiple boat recovery companies to respond, but had no success. One company did report and that they could come and recover the watercraft first thing Monday for about $3,500 fee. That was deemed to be unreasonable as the gas and oil spill was ongoing. After further assessing the situation, Bob Walker called Rick Eccles, who was also off after hours. After gathering details, Rick gathered up his personal water pump, then gathered some heavy rope and some come-alongs from work. Then the group decided to cradle the stern, got everything together of the stern of the boat, and running the rope under it and tying off the cleats on the underside of the boat. They then used a come-along to raise the stern and the boat above water level while continuing to pump water out of the sinking boat. This process took about 45 minutes. Once the water was pumped out, Ranger Bob towed the disabled boat to the Granton boat launch, where it was trailered and removed from the lake. Again, Rangers on duty was Dylan Grisham and Greg Cowan. Off-duty Rangers with Bob Walker and Lee Cronick. And Rick also assisted responding later with the come-along and saving our member $3,500. So congratulations.
Thank you to each of you, and it is important that we do celebrate success because we've got some fantastic employees. At this time, we'd like to move into the approval of the minutes. I'd like to have a motion for July 25th Board of Directors regular meeting.
So move.
A second, please. Any corrections? If not, I'd call for a vote. All those in favor? We have no proxies tonight. Okay, I'd like a motion for the August 15th Board Work Session meeting. Second? Any corrections on that one or changes? If not, I'll call for a vote. Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to engage in the 2020 plan.
Sorry about that, new microphone. I'm going to take just a few moments to go through the 2020 plan. We're skipping over Dwayne's presentation of the financials. They are in your board packet. You can look through them. You can see that while we're having a challenging year as a result of the Trafalgar fire and the expenses related to that, if you were to remove those expenses, we're actually having a pretty good year. We're $500,000 better than budget. It's just hard to see as a result of the added expenses. So if you don't have one of these, grab one of these in the back there. And if you're watching online, you can go to the POA's website and print this out. I'm just going to take a couple minutes and go through it and point out some highlights because assuming the board decides to do this, the board will be voting on this a little bit later on this evening. On the first page in the middle section, what you'll see is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to combine as many of the fees as possible to make it easier on our residents. If anybody has seen our fee schedule, they'll know that it's out here as long as my arm, and it can be confusing at times. So if we can reduce it, it'll make it much easier on our residents. So what we're trying to do is reduce the number of fees and increase the number of benefits. The other thing what we're looking at doing is making it so that only certain facilities can be accessed by our residents and their guests. And those things, we're going to convert the photo ID card into an activity card. Photo ID card is not a very great marketing name. We're going to convert it into an activity card. Photo ID card is $38. We're going to reduce the price down to $30. With that photo ID card, you're going to have unlimited free access for the lakes, the pools, the beach, the fitness facilities, and entrance to the gun range. If you go to the gun range, you'll still have to pay for the clay targets, but you'll get in for free. So by having all those features added to the plan, we think that it really makes it wonderful, a really solid plan. I would ask you now to go to the middle section, okay? On the left-hand side, you'll see amenities that will be accessible just to members and their guests. And this was directly as a result of comments made by property owners that they didn't want to have non-residents going to the beach. They didn't want to have non-residents going to the fitness facilities. So if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the one column, set of columns, says 2019 fee schedule. That's what you're currently paying. And then to the right of that, you'll see the 2020 and all the way to 2022 fee schedule. The reason why we've put down 2020 to 2023 is because we want to make sure that people don't think that if this plan was approved, that 6 months later we change the rate and put them back up high. So we're committing to them for 3 years. Are we committing to them more than 3 years? Nah, that's a pretty long time. I'm going to steal Tia's analogy. If you went to McDonald's and asked them how much they were going to charge for a Big Mac 3 years from now, I don't think they would answer that question. But clearly what we're trying to do is create a plan that makes sense for the long term. What we're also doing is we're hitting the reset button. We're fixing problems all at one time that don't make sense. For example, our annual recreation membership, it costs $225 to join. But you can go down to Bentonville at Planet Fitness and it costs $120 a year. And they're better than us. We need to fix that. Another great example, and Director Jerry brought this up many months ago, is many of our lakes have parks. And if you go to that park and you have a member card or a photo ID card, it's free. But if you start to use the lake, if you jump in the water, if you put a fishing pole in there, now you have to pay a lake use fee. Well, that's not a very easy thing to explain to for lake rangers to explain to people. And it usually the conversation doesn't go great. This solves problems like that. It eliminates them and makes it easier on our residents so that we don't have to have a fee schedule as long as our arm. We can have it maybe shorter than that. So let's go over a couple of these. So on the left-hand side, you'll see lakes. So with your member card, it will be included. Everything in yellow means it went down. The fee went down. And you'll see that there's quite a bit of yellow on this page. Move down to boats. So if you have a boat and you register it, well, first of all, you'll see that we have 5 categories. And we tried to trace those categories back to try and see if they made any sense. Is it because of state regulations? Nothing. We couldn't figure out where they came up with those categories. And the Lakes Committee had come to us and said, we would like to reduce the number of categories, make it easier. So we went from 5 categories down to 3 categories. If you have a 20-foot boat right now, you're paying $210 a year. If this is approved, then it would go down to $125. If you moor your boat at Loch Lomond in an uncovered slip, it will go from $330 down to $500. Why such a large drop? Well, what has happened over the years is as the fees have gone up, we've lost people. They've taken their boat and they're now registering their boat over at Beaver Lake, and we're losing them. Years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a wait list for slips. Now, out of the 150 slips that we have, only 100 are leased. So we have 50 additional. So that means that these people have left us. We need to welcome them back, and with this fee structure, we think that we'll get them back. Moving on down to recreation, you'll see that all those areas are included. So with your activity card, you get free access to the gym. You get free access to the pools, and then moving all the way down to the bottom, you see free access to the gun range. So it's really very much all-inclusive. All right, I'm going to move on to the right-hand side of the page. Now, the right-hand side of the page, we still will allow non-residents to play. Okay, now why are we going to continue to allow non-residents? Well, non-residents bring in, for golf alone, $1 million. If we no longer allow non-residents to play golf here, it blows up the plan. It adds way too much money to the plan. We'll never get it approved. If you're a tennis player, you'll see that the tennis fee for a family will go from $350 down to $200. We want to encourage as many people as possible to continue to play tennis. Moving down to golf. Okay, so golfers, it'll go from $1,800 on for an annual AGGF membership. It'll go from $1,800 down to $1,600. That's pretty good. If you are a monthly payer, the added expense will go from $120 down to $60. Now that's been another thing that we hit the reset button on. People came to us and said, look, I need to pay on a monthly basis and you're charging me $10 more a month for my golf membership, and that doesn't make any sense because it's all on auto draft. It's not fair to charge me $120. Well, we do have some real costs every month in processing that. So what we did was we took it in half. So we went from an increase of $120 down to just an increase of $60. So if you pay monthly, you're going to save $260 on your golf membership. We think that's pretty impressive. Seat leases. Okay, so right now we have this differential where the private carts pay one fee and the seat leases pay another. We want to make it all one, all the same. That way, when you come to the golf course, you can use your private cart, you can use one of the POA carts. We don't care, it's the same fee. And what we're finding is our community is less and less inclined as the years go on to trailer their carts. For example, this Monday, we had 4 shotguns. We had 56 private cart people check in to play golf, but there was only 19 private carts used. What's happening is they're using their private carts at their home course. They live by Highlands, they drive to Highlands, but they're not trailering it. And if we really followed the letter of the law, we would go to that person and charge them if they went to the other golf course and didn't have their car with them. But that's not a good customer service situation. So what we're doing is we're making both of the rates exactly the same. And this is the message that we've been sending to the board has been sending to the community for a while. For years they've been saying, we want these rates the same. So this would accomplish that. Now moving down, let's look at green fees. This has really been a sticking point and we wanted to fix that problem. Let's look under the 2019 fees. You'll see that it's $41 for a person with a photo ID to play golf. But for a non-resident, it's $50. So we had residents coming to us and saying, I'm only getting a $9 discount. That's not enough value. It doesn't make sense to me. I want more value. So if you look to the right, you'll see that it's $33 for an activity card, and then we're going to raise it for non-residents, non-members, up to $52. So what you'll have is the differential will go from $9 to $19. Now that's a pretty good value, and we can stand in front of that member and say, hey, you're getting something really good for your membership. The next thing we've done is a number of residents, and this came from a resident that raised their hand. We had a couple focus groups, and a resident raised their hand and said, look, every time I bring my son out here, I have to pay $50, and I end up paying, okay? I want him to be able to play for my rate. So we said, okay. So we created the 10-play prepay. So you'll have to prepay 10 rounds of golf, and you can use them for relatives, friends. We don't care. You can't use it for group play. You can't use it for tournament play. But you can bring your son out there, and he can play for $33. You'll be limited to just purchasing 10 per year, and you'll have 2 years to use those rounds. Now, I'm talking about a card that will actually be tracked electronically, but it's easier to just say card. But we really think that that's a great way of encouraging people to bring and play golf here, because too many of our golfers, just like with the boaters, what I said earlier, too many of our golfers are driving down the road to other golf courses. We want to welcome them back. Okay, let's move down. Okay, Brittany. So earlier this year, we had a meeting and we brought together there was about 400 people there, and they really said, we need to keep Brittany. We need to save Brittany. So with this plan, we think we're accomplishing that. So if you are an activity card member, you can play Brittany for free. That should increase the number of rounds played at Brittany. Now, you have to pay $5 for a cart, but if you have a private cart or a photo ID, private cart or a seat lease, it'll be free. You can play the golf course for free. We feel that that will increase the usage of that golf course. And we think we're very proud of that one. And I think that was Jim's idea that came up with that one. If you don't like that idea, you know who to talk to now. Also, towards the bottom, you'll see that we're now with a activity card, we're including, with an activity card and an AGGF membership, we're including the kids' first bundle. We want you to bring out your kids, your grandkids. We want you to play. We want to grow the game of golf, okay? And for those without an AGGF, but they do have an activity card, we've gone from $200 down to $100, growing the game of golf. And lastly, you can't say you haven't had enough range balls. We're including range balls in with the activity card. So we really think for the golfers, we've done a really good job. I'm going to have you turn to the last page. We're going to look at the upper section of the last page. Okay, so we've talked about what the plan includes. Let's talk about what the plan does not include. Okay, so last year we came to the community and we said we wanted to build a new community center. Some people loved the idea and some people absolutely hated the idea. This plan does not include a new community center. Now, at some point, we're going to have to renovate the Reardon Hall. It's looking old. It's in bad shape, but a new community center is not included in here. Also, in 2016, the POA voted their POA-owned lots. That was about 700 lots, and the community said, we don't like that. Today, the board is going to have the first reading that will pass. It takes 2 readings that will pass, that will, assuming they pass it, will say that you will not vote those lots. And that will go into effect before the election takes place, okay? So it's not like the election starts, we can sneak in the votes, or nah. Also, it's really more of a moot point now because we've gone from 700 lots down to 80 lots, okay? But they're not gonna vote those lots. Also, well, I've already covered the no changes until 2023. We talked about Tia's Big Mac. Not good for you, Tia, not good. Also, a lot of people have come to us and said, I love the trails, but other people have said, I dislike the trails, okay? So what we're saying with this plan is, right now, the POA has committed to spend $70,000 per year on the trails. $35,000 for the back 40 and $35,000 for the central section once the trails are done. They won't be done until this year or early next year. The board is making a commitment that they won't make any additional financial commitments till at least 2023. So does that mean that in 2023, the bulldozers are going to be ready to go on January 1 to start building on the west side? No. What it means is we're kind of putting hitting the pause button on that. By then, there will be a changeover in the board, and they'll have to vote at that time. But we're kind of just removing that issue from the table. Now, a couple people have approached us with this plan and said, hey, I like this plan, but why don't we just have this plan? Why don't we let people just opt into the plan? They can voluntarily opt in and voluntarily not opt in. Well, how about if we ask everybody if they want to voluntarily pay for schools? Property taxes, a large portion of it goes to schools. If you don't have a school-age kid, who's going to voluntarily opt in? This is a community plan. You may not use the amenities, but your neighbor does, or the person that down the road a couple of years from now buys your home from you. Maybe they do use the amenities. Okay, let's look at a couple of scenarios, and I'm almost done. The first scenario, example 1, a couple, they have an AGGF membership. They pay monthly. They have a private card. They have a fitness plan, photo ID card. Right now, they're paying $4,371. Under the new plan, they would pay $3,720. So they would have a savings of $651. That's pretty good. Now you have to deduct what the increase in the assessment would be to get the net, but. All right, well, let's look at one more under family. So they have Reardon Hall Fitness, They use the pool, they play a couple rounds of golf, photo ID, they pay $979. The new total would be $324, a savings of $655. Both pretty good. Now let's look at the bottom left hand, example number 5. Well, what if I don't do anything at all? If I stay at home and you do not use any of the amenities, and let's make sure you know what the amenities are. I think a former board member told me once that he was going around the pool asking people if they use the amenities, and the person said, "I never use the amenities," and they were sitting at the pool. So parks, trails, pools, beach, lakes, all those are amenities. If you don't use the amenities, and a lot of the people back in 2015, we did a survey, and these people, 35% of the respondents said, "I don't use the amenities because you nickel and dime me here and there, everywhere on things." Well, with this plan, we're getting rid of the nickel and diming. We're really making it all-inclusive. So my hope is that that 35% will get more active and will start using the amenities. All right, let's go to the front page, and then I'm all done. Okay, bottom section, front page. See, what we're asking for an $11 increase for improved properties. People will say, what's an improved property? It's a water meter, okay? It's a home, condo, home, so forth. Where's the money going to go to? $6 is going to go to offset the fees. So if you take your green fees and you lower them, and your rec fees and all these are lower, you got to offset it somewhere else. The $6 basically makes it even. $2 will go towards the Trafalgar fire. Now, that entire situation is not completely over because we haven't gotten through all the lawsuits, so we don't know what the end number is going to be. But once that's paid off, the remaining, the $2 will be used towards the reserves. $2 will go towards operational costs. Here's the reality. We have a 2020 business that we are funding with a 2001 funding source. We have not had an increase since 2001, and I would like you to think of one thing in your home that has not gone up in value or cost. Your power, your groceries, everything, cable, it's gone up, but we have not increased it. It doesn't work. The math no longer works. And then $1 will go towards reserves. Our reserves were used to put out the fire. It is not prudent to have zero reserves. If we have a flood or some other horrible thing occurs, we need to have reserves. We need to rebuild. What's it going to be for unimproved properties? It's going to be $2. Now, why is it so much more for improved than unimproved? Well, it's the people that are going to use the amenities. It's those that live here are going to get the greatest benefit from this plan. So that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time. The board is going to consider this later on today. You'll notice that we have a website. I encourage you to go onto the website. We have a ton of information on there. Ballots will go out October 9th. The election or the vote will end November 19th. We will have a meeting on November 19th at 6 p.m. at Reardon Hall, and we will announce the results. But go onto our website. We have a Q&A section. If you have additional questions that are not covered on there, I encourage you to send me an email at tomj@bvvpoa.com. Send me the question, I'll answer it, and I'll put it on there. If you use Facebook and you see a question that's been answered, feel free to copy and paste and post the information. We also have a video. If you have not watched the video and you've watched this, you've already seen the whole thing. You don't have to watch it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to move ahead to Joint Advisory Committee reports and Lakes Committee. I don't think I saw anybody from Lakes today. You got Lakes? Okay, Recreation. Gary, I think I saw you. Hi, Gary.
Oh, it's just about the right size, too. I'm Gary Griffin with the Recreation Committee. I want to tell you a few things about our last meeting of August 12th. We had quite a few guests from the Bella Vista Animal Shelter as well as the archery potential committee. So there's some balances that we had to deal with there, because one of the places we were looking at to do the archery range happens to be right by the Bella Vista Animal Shelter. How's this better? How's this? Oh, okay. So, some of the current business we went over, we had a new member meet and greet. It was held on August 10th. We had 46 new residents. 14 states were represented, and the biggest ones, number 1 was California, and number 2 was Texas, which is a change from what we've seen in the past. From our new business perspective, we looked at some additional possibilities for an archery range. We're looking right now toward the gun clubs and see what we can do about doing something out there. As well as pickleball came up once again as part of one of the recommendations that we made to the committee, or to the board, as well as mini golf. So in our top 3, those were the top 3 that we had in terms of our recommendations. And we got some feedback as well from Joan on some of these as well, which was good. One thing we did find is that everybody within the committee had archery, pickleball, and then mini golf in there as well. So Flea in the Park had a good turnout, and this past Saturday we had the Alzheimer's Association golf tournament. I just wanted to talk to that a little bit because we had a lot of volunteers there that came from our committee, and it did very well. Finally, if you want to, come join us the second Monday of next month at 4 o'clock right here and see what the Recreation Committee is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. Golf Committee? Jason?
Jason Lloyd from the Golf Committee, or Coach Lloyd from Gravett Golf. Sorry, I just got off the golf course with the high school kids. They're playing at Highlands, having a good time and actually doing pretty good. Our last meeting, August 14th, basically we went over 3 things. One was the changes at Brittany. The subcommittee for Brittany, I think we talked about it last month, made some recommendations for some changes to make it teal tees, to make it a full par 3 course. And they were also adding PIFs out there, play forward tees. That was supposed to be done next week, right, Darryl? But we got an email this morning from Scott out there. The great crew out there got it done. So they're opening up tomorrow with the changes, right? Excellent. So ahead of schedule, so everybody go play Brittany. If you just want to play par 3, you can do that. So the other thing we had was our capital expenditure recommendations, and you can go to our meeting notes and see what we are recommended to the board. And then the big discussion and the conversation was the Burksdale Bridge, and we basically tabled it until we get some further information. There was great attendance, a lot of information, a lot of input. One of the things we discussed was rerouting some holes so we can keep it open and keep it a 9-hole course, maybe expanding it or shrinking it to a 6-hole or expand it to a 12-hole. And so we've got some people looking at that. We have some safety issues that the team's got to look at, some different things. So we've tabled that until we get some more information. But nuts and bolts, that's about it. We were happy to have Chuck Whiff from Craft and Toll, which is the engineering company with the bridge, that was there to answer some questions from the members. So any questions? Nope.
Thanks, Jason.
Make sure to join us, like Gary said, the second Wednesday, right here in the boardroom. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you. Community involvement. I don't, yes, she is here.
Yeah, she's a good one.
Oh. She's gonna have to adjust the mic. She's gonna have to adjust the mic. There you go.
Whoops.
Yep, that's all right. It's okay.
Oh, hold it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I won't tap dance, I promise. I'm Janet Conboy. I'm one of the 2 new members to the Community Involvement Committee. Marissa Whitfield is the other. And I'm also the newly minted secretary. So bear with me. We had a quorum, and we're able to conduct some business. We also had elections, and Dylan Shaddix was elected chairperson. John Bowman is our vice chair, and of course, here I am. Got some real good discussions and some decisions around, first of all, some budget for 2020. We're going to be making or have made a request to you all for $750 for the fireflies and tailgates. That recognizes the growth that we had and are having. We used a lot of supplies for extra activities that we hadn't had before. We also didn't charge this year. So looking forward, we thought that that would really help us improve the community engagement. I'd like to give a shout out to board member Tia and also John Bowman for really providing a lot of good input and ideas. So thank you guys. Our coat drive is also hopefully going to expand. We're looking to identify new locations for the bins, involve more community businesses and organizations. The most exciting piece of it is that we're going to be opening a shop, if you will, over the weekend of November 16th and 17th for anybody in the community, no questions asked, to come in and select a coat. And we believe that really addresses some of the needs of our seniors as well as the community in general. And the coat drive will take place between October 14th and 3rd just for the collection, and our distribution point, the final, would be on November 22nd. Looking at a lot of new marketing ideas as well. And then during open discussion, the committee has decided to take a look at our mission statement. Because of the changes in the community and the activities that are going on, we need to be forward-looking. So we plan to get involved with that. And there's just a number of other activities and ideas that came forward that we're really excited about, and we hope you will be too.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, very good.
And welcome to the committee.
And a quick point of clarification on the shop that you referenced. The coats would be for free. I didn't want anybody to think with shop that meant that they would have to purchase them. And it would also allow people to select their own coat, as opposed to last year when we had the sheet of we need this many larges and mediums and so forth for a family. We didn't necessarily know what colors they'd want and so forth. It would allow a person to come in and select on their own. No questions asked.
Okay. Thank you to all the committees. Tom, go ahead.
So Tammy, my assistant, brought to my attention that I failed to mention one thing when I was going over the plan. We're asking for the community to come together and do a calling campaign to get as many people to vote as possible. So I'm asking people if they would be willing to volunteer for 1 or 2 hours. It's towards the end of September. All you're required to do is to call. You don't have to tell, you're not really allowed to tell them how to vote, but to vote. So she's going to send a sign-up sheet around, and if you sign up, I really appreciate it, and that way we can get as many people out to vote as possible. And we're only looking for 1 or 2 hours of your time. Thank you.
Okay. Last month's open forum, we had one person visit with us, and before we have open forum today, there is a large number on the list, so we are going to limit to 3 minutes to each property owner, and please state your name and your property that you have. What's that? Oh, we have a clock here, and I think it goes, I mean, you can tell when there's 30 seconds left, so you know for yourself when your time is running out. So I don't get to tell you you need to wrap it up, so. Okay, apologize if I screw up your name, because sometimes I'm not sure I can read these. Nancy Stock, would that be correct? Yeah. Thank you. One right. One for one.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stock. I live at 23 Hinckley Circle, and I was very encouraged by the last election. I think Members First came out loud and strong, and I see light at the end of the tunnel. I like this plan to a point. I think fiscal responsibility needs to come first before you ask for money. And I also think, as Judson said, Mr. Judson, I'm sorry, community. Well, non-improved lots are part of our community. The rate between $2 and $11 is too much. They have every right I have. They can come and use the amenities. They can get a card for $30. They can vote. There's nothing that I can do that they can't, yet they pay less money. And you can see it because those 700 lots we sold went quickly. So they are part of our community. They want to be part of our community, and they see it as an investment. And so their investment should be the same as my investment. Some of them live far away, true. Some of them don't. But they have the same responsibilities as I do to keep this community alive. And also, people have asked over and over, how much does Lake Point gain? How much does it lose? You lump everything together. I cannot make a reasonable decision without knowing the facts. What does it lose? What does it gain? The restaurants as a whole, it could be anything. I don't know. We need to have those, just like the golf courses. What golf courses make the most money? Which don't? And also when he said that people that come in from outside the community, it's $1 million, I think he said. Well, how much does that $1 million cost us? We have to keep open extra golf courses for those people. So how much are we making money off that $1 million, or are we losing money? And so people want to know this. People, they're not as stupid as you think. We want to know all the answers. We want to know the financials. We need to do it to make a reasonable decision. And I hope Members First will keep going loud and strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Sean? Yes, it does have a alarm. Yeah. John Nuttall.
Hi, my name is John Nuttall. I live at 40 Pimlico. Number 13 on tonight's agenda, a modification of the budget calendar and partial waiver of policy 703. This is to delay the board's submission date requirement until January 1st for the 2020 budget. I assume that the board expects the membership to vote on a new budget or an assessment increase with having no idea what next year's budget looks like. It seems like a really bold request to me, and I'm sure that the previous speaker will think the same thing. The budget should be available, or at least in substantial position before we have to vote.
Thank you, John. Oh, okay. She's getting quicker.
Got it.
Ralph Patterson. She's getting quick.
Thank you. I'm Ralph Patterson, 34 Rannoch Drive. Before I mention what I came to say, I want to say I'm the chairperson for Bella Vista Ambassadors. We have 23 families in Bella Vista that show people around if they're interested in moving here. And it's a really good program. We like to get more people involved. It takes about an hour plus to show people around, but it's a good program. We have over 25% success of people that decide to move here after that, after they've looked at it. And it's a fun thing to do, to meet new people. So if you like to do it, we'd like to have you. Okay? Okay. First of all, I want to thank the POA board, both present and past, for your service to this great amenities community. And I want to personally thank Tom Judson and his management team for the leadership they've shown in improving virtually every one of our amenities over the past few years. They were starting to look pretty dowdy. My wife described them as looking tired. I fully support the assessment increase just proposed by the board, or for the board. A yes vote for this proposal is absolutely, in my opinion, a no-brainer. Your plans put us, the POA members, first by lowering and eliminating many usage fees and by restricting non-members from access to many of our amenities unless they're accompanied by one of us, the POA members. Thank you for thinking of us. I've heard a few negative comments about this proposal, but most of this negative thinking comes from not understanding what Bella Vista is all about. Bella Vista was designed, developed, and promoted primarily as an amenities community. We were not designed as Bentonville or Rogers. Our members have voted to keep our assessments, if our members had voted to keep our assessments up year by year, and I'm a numbers guy, if they'd done it since our 2002 vote where we rejected it, our dues now would be $44 or more per month. We're getting an absolute bargain at an increase of $11 a month. Increase. Two other things. There's a vast misconception that Bella Vista voted to incorporate in order to get rid of the POA. That is absolutely false. Nothing could be further from the truth. Most of us who understood economics voted to incorporate to save the POA. There was no way the POA could continue to provide adequate fire protection, sheriff protection, streets, and keep our amenities open at $24. Probably, secondly, the best amenity, this is probably the best amenities community in the United States, certainly in the central part of the United States, and starting to close our amenities so we could survive with our current ridiculously low dues is ludicrous. Should we start closing amenities, the average home value for our members could plummet as low as 15%, 10%. One more say, all of us would lose.
Ralph, I'm going to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Well, I've got to tell you that if we lost 10% and you had a $150,000 home, it would take you 111 months, 111 years to make up that $11 difference.
Got to cut you off, Ralph. I'm sorry. Thank you. Nancy Shaleka? Mary, excuse me, Mary. I'm sorry. I'm down one.
I'll try and get through in 3 minutes. I wrote it down so you could follow along, so hopefully you'll know right where I'm at. This is an alternative to the POA Board's proposed 2020 plan. Mr. Judson, I'm sure, was talking about this one. I believe the plan is a step in the right direction, but I don't think the membership is quite ready to trust the POA Board members' first promises and vote for an increase. Instead, one member of the POA proposed a gold card membership on social media. That was Michael McCracken. I don't know whether he's here tonight. It would work like this. Each member who wishes to take advantage of the fee-free amenities and reduced golf and boat fees can purchase a gold card membership with their photo ID card at the new reduced rate. Since membership is tied to lot purchase, improved or unimproved, and not the number of members in a family, it will be a one-time charge of $11 a month per family membership. If you don't use amenities, you don't purchase the gold card. The gold card would be used to access the fee-free or reduced charge amenities as described in the board's 2020 proposed plan. This idea is much better than an assessment increase charge per lot for the following reasons. It gives the POA the extra revenue it says it needs. It levels the paying field for improved and unimproved lot owners. Right now, non-resident membership lot owners bought those lots to have access to our amenities for a lot less cost yearly than resident members pay. The 2020 proposed assessment increase is no different. You are pitting the vote of a 45% increase to the minority number of improved against a 12% increase for the majority number of unimproved for the same benefits. A standard fee for a gold card for improved or unimproved lots would have unimproved lot owners contribute the same amount as improved lot owners for fee-free or reduced cost use of POA amenities. Instead of a $2 a month increased assessment fees from non-resident membership lot owners, you have a potential revenue of $11 a month from those members, plus the cost of a photo ID with a gold card. They bought those lots for the amenities. They should pay the same as residents to use them. The financial burden is on the users of amenities and not everyone. It won't burden our seniors or those struggling to pay extra assessments they can't afford for amenities they don't use. You only buy the gold card if you choose to. And it won't penalize those members who own the 2 or more lots their homes sit on. The best reason for the above plan is it will let members see how serious the POA board is on putting members first and staying within their spending budget. It is notable that if the assessment passes, there is nothing in this current proposal that prohibits this POA board or any future POA boards from reinstating fees or allowing unattached guests back into our amenities as guests of the POA. Nor can this board obligate future
you, Mary.
boards to what this board decides to do.
Thank you.
You could see where I am. I'll finish, please. An added bonus
Excuse
is
me.
this doesn't
Mary.
require an election to implement.
Mary, I ask that we cut now, please. We have it in front of us.
Can I read it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one up is Sandy Fosdick.
Sandy Fosdick, 37 Stonehaven Drive. For the most part, I like the new plan. I know we didn't go over the financials tonight, but it's clear we're broke. I just glanced at it. Do we really owe the water department $3.3 million? I hope that's for meters. Anyway, like I said, I like the plan. I've done the math. I'm going to pay you $335 less a year. So I'm a little skeptical.
You're fine.
Just
go ahead.
because I'm skeptical doesn't mean you should shut me off.
That's our
I
mistake.
would like to know how the $6 in assessments is going to take up the slack. So I'd like to see the projections that you use to figure that. Because we as members, a lot of us are skeptical. So I don't know if you've got some paperwork you can show us that would give us the projections. I like a lot of things in the plan. I like the fact that we're going back to private use. I like the reduction in golf fees. I think there's a lot to be favorable for. I didn't at first like the fact that the unimproved lots get to use the amenities for free, and I do see a little bit of a problem with usage at Branchwood if it's going to be free. The parking lot's always full now. You know, are you going to be looking to extend the hours? Because 8 o'clock is too early in my house. And I'm not going to stand in line to walk on the treadmill. So I can see some problems with it, but I like a lot of it, and I'd gladly pay you $100 more a month if it improves things around here. So, yeah, I'd just like to see some projections. Is it really going to work? And as much as we want to take the fire out, it's a fact of life, and like Tom said, it's not over. We may need more money in the future just to pay for the lawsuits. So if you could give us a little reassurance here with some real numbers on your projections, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, next up is Pat Lowry.
Good evening, Pat. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your service as a former board member, but just remember that the information that you received in confidence as a board member be kept in
I
confidence.
understand.
Thank you.
I won't start off with that. I guess what I'd like to do is use my time to give the board a challenge. If you ask yourself the question, who is responsible for the assessments? It's the board. If you ask yourself who owns the determination, the deed for an assessment increase, it's the board. Using information provided by staff, who owns the determination of the amount needed? The board. Who owns this proposal that you're giving us? The board. Who owns earning the trust of the community and ensuring the likelihood of an affirmative outcome? The board. We have had a contentious relationship with our community over the past few years. There's a good deal of mistrust. There's a good deal of doubt that the board has considered everything in making this proposal. This proposal was provided to the board by the staff. The staff also has had some problems with trust. It seems to me that since the staff and the board has had problems with trust, the presentation of this proposal to the board has to be done by those who have evidence of confidence and trust of the community. And there are 3 people on the board who have that trust: Steve McKee, Tia Bidwell, Jerry Barron. I would propose to you that, having established that trust with the community as evidenced by the election, that they spearhead the presentations that are being made to the community. I think that it's necessary for you also to present the downside. What happens if this proposal is not passed? I have heard that, well, in 2 or 3 years, we may have to close golf courses. Well, why not wait 2 or 3 more years then to propose an assessment increase? If we can sustain things that long, why not wait? What's going to be closed? What staff is going to be cut? And on the positive side, the thing that this great proposal that you put together does, it no longer requests deferred gratification. Many of the other proposals that we've made for assessment increase have said, well, in 3 years you're going to get this, and in 6 years you're going to get this, and in 5 years you're going to get this. And this gives something to people tomorrow, as soon as the proposal is approved.
Thank you, Patrick. Next,
May I make a comment? I'm going to do my best to hold my tongue. Pat, I take great difference. I really differ with you on you saying there's only 3 people on this board that have the trust. I've been on the board. I was elected to the board, and I've done everything I can in the best interest of this community, and I don't like you referring to me as somebody that doesn't have the trust. Everybody around this community has seen me work around here knows that I've worked for the betterment of Bella Vista. I don't like that, and I think it's unfair on your point to say it. We have some other people here that work just as hard. They voted you off for the same mistrust that they didn't vote me off. The only reason they didn't vote me off is because I wasn't up for re-election. I got lumped, no, you're done. I got lumped in there because of that, and it really, really infuriates me. I apologize for taking that tone, but I take offense to it.
okay, next on the table is Pat Orick. Would that be correct, Orick? Okay. Mr. Lowry has had his 3 minutes. If Mr. Orick would like to speak, feel free to do so, Mr. Orick.
Parliamentary procedure,
Can you speak?
I don't know. I don't know. I have to look it up.
we have allowed it in the past.
At this time, Pat, we're going to say that Mr. Orick has the floor for 3 minutes if he'd like to speak. Are you giving it up, Mr. Orick? Okay. Tommy Freitag, if you'd, next up. Pat, thank you. Tommy, go ahead.
Tommy Freitag, 25 Pomona Drive. I'm going to kudos to the lady about needing information. I asked for information, and I have not received anything. So I think we need to have more numbers on what this plan is going to cost us as far as reduced revenues. We haven't heard a number on that, but that's all I'll say about that. I'm not going to talk about the 2020 plan anymore. What I'd like to ask the board, or maybe Darrell, is the seat lease program, the carts that they use, is there any cost involved in that, or is there zero there? Does those carts cost us anything? Can anybody answer that for me tonight?
We
Darryl?
leased them. Make a statement, please, Tommy.
I would like to know if those carts cost any money to the POA. Are they free?
Okay.
We lease them? Ain't there some cost?
Okay, please make your statements,
Okay.
not a dialogue,
All right,
please.
I'm not going to be saying that this is exactly accurate, but a lease seat or a lease cart, plus the maintenance on them, the electricity, the people that charge them out, et cetera, and so forth and everything, on a yearly basis, probably cost us somewhere between $1,300 and $1,500 a year. And if that's the case, when someone takes a seat lease and buys a seat lease at the proposed program you got for $500, there is some cost involved in that. It's not full $500 that we get. I believe that's true. I don't think anybody here would deny that. I have a private cart, and you want me to pay $500 up front. I have cost for my private cart, just like the POA has for that lease cart. So if they have expense on that cart, then that should be reduced and say that all you're making on that cart is maybe $400 rather than $500. And if that's the case, I'm paying that $100 because I'm paying $500 because my cost is out of my pocket, not out of the POA's. That's my statement. I think the private cart owners should not be the same as a seat lease because we're paying the cost just like the POA is paying the cost on that lease seat.
Thank you, Tommy. Next one, I think it's Denise Klinger. Is that correct? Denise? Okay, thank you.
What's the last one?
Klinger. Denise Klinger.
Denise Klinger, 9 Fairway Drive. I would just like to say, my husband and I have lived around the United States, literally from coast to coast, from Baltimore to Tacoma, Washington. That's okay. I don't care if I get beat. Yeah, just keep my eye on it. And literally internationally, we just returned from a year in Italy. And where did we choose to live? We chose to live in Bella Vista because it's a wonderful community. We love it here. And just before that, we lived in Tucson, Arizona. In Tucson, Arizona, I paid $300 a month for my HOA. That got me a little bit of water, my sewer, 2 swimming pools, and a little bit of lawn care. Nowhere did we have golf courses, fitness centers, any of the classes or the other amenities that Bella Vista offers. I think this is an incredible value, and if people search anywhere around the United States, they will not find anything even close to what Bella Vista has to offer. I think an $11 increase is a very small price to pay. Can everybody afford it? Not necessarily. Does everybody use the amenities? Definitely not. But I think for what we have, we need to keep that in mind, and I think that's a very small price to pay. I don't know of anywhere where we could have what we have here, and I can't tell you that we are absolutely voting for the price increase.
Thank you, Denise. Next on my list is Joy Sawyer.
Hello. Okay, before I say my thing, I ate at the Bella Vista Bar and Grill a couple of weeks ago or so, and we were looking out the window and we thought, that's a really pretty view out there, but there's bird droppings and everything on the window on the outside, and so I just wondered if that gets cleaned on a regular basis or what that is. I mean, because it just didn't look good, didn't look good for me, but didn't look good for visitors either. I just want to put these words in your head for y'all to think about. Mini golf at Metfield. I took my grandsons up there to play mini golf just because it's close to my house. Worst mini golf course. It's not maintained. I mean, it's bad. We lost the balls and, it was bad news. So if y'all can just look at that, that'd be great. Okay, couple of things. I've watched the video and I have heard Mr. Judson's speech here. So I have heard it twice. I want to know if, I know that people have asked was thought given, or we have mentioned in the past about parking passes for trail users, and maybe even having a Bella Vista, member resident sticker that we put on our cars, so when we're parked in POA parking lots, that, we're members, and either doing something like that or where they can buy them yearly. That would help offset some of our maintenance costs on the trails. And I know in parking lots in cities, they have like the little honor system boxes, where you park in a place and you go stick $2 or whatever in there. I just thought that might be another, if they're just coming for the day, that maybe they could do that, and that would allow us to, I know it's not gonna pay for all of it, but it might just help offset a little bit. And Mr. Judson said something about the inflation on the video since 2001, and so as we have talked, we have also wondered about what do those numbers look like. 2001, what were the rates the rates were this in 2001, but you had about 15,000 people living here. Now you have about 30,000 people living here. So is the increase that you're proposing comparable to the rate of inflation in that year? Because to stand up here, to say we haven't had a raise is true, but you've doubled the population. So you have, and I don't know that that's double dues, because I don't know, that homes being built and things like that. But, and I also just wanted to make sure, do we know that there was $0 in the reserves
Joy.
before the fire?
Thank you.
Okay, so the fire didn't cause us to have
Thank you, Joy.
$0 in reserves.
Thank you.
And that needs to be said.
At this time, that's what I have for open forum. Is there anybody else that would like their 3 minutes?
I like the new program,
Your
and I
name,
think
sir?
a lot of
Your
people,
name?
Wade Swanton, 129 Kinkerdine Drive. I think a lot more people would maybe get on board with this if you would maybe tie this to the rate of inflation. Instead of 2 years down the road, raise amenity fees by $50 or whatever number you come up with. That's all I got.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Joyce, CPL 30 Perth Drive. I don't really have a comment, I have a question. If this goes today and the board agrees to put it on a ballot, if the assessment increase is not approved by voters, then how much money does that cost us as POA members, again, for a no vote? Can someone answer that for me? You have to pay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Tom will take care of that. He's got it already.
Thank you.
Yeah, an election is approximately 40,000, a little bit less than that. I think it's 38, but it's $40,000.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, let's go ahead and move. Oh, excuse me. I did not see you.
How do you do? My name is Robert Stock. I live at 23 Hinckley Circle. I think this is this 2020 plan. I think it really is a very, very nice, bold step forward. And I want to congratulate each and every one of you. However, I don't really know if I could vote for it. And I'll tell you why. Is being a member with an improved lot, the person with an unimproved lot has the same rights that I do. And I know of at least 3 people that live in Hanover in $600,000 houses, come out here and play golf with an unimproved lot. Please, please, fix that. It's not that hard. In order to become, in order to get a card, then you have to pay that rate, the same as that I do. The second thing I'd like to add is that Mr. Judson threw out $1 million. The outside golfers bring in $1 million. But how much does it cost us? To give us a little tantalizing number and then back it up with nothing, I don't think it's being fair to the members. I challenge you to put together a comprehensive study and include just exactly how much it's cost, how much we're actually making from those golfers that don't live in the village. If you didn't have them here, how many are there? 40,000? 50,000? That's 2 golf courses we wouldn't have to even have. It's unnecessary. And I don't want to see golf go. I golf a lot. I never golf in the village, it costs too much. I might come back. But I can tell you right now, I mean, I would agree. You gotta just tweak it a couple of little things there, and I think you'll be in good shape. And the thing of it is I have a pontoon boat on Lake Windsor. We follow every boating law for the state of Arkansas. You wanna go hunt in the village with a boat, you follow everything in the state for the state of Arkansas. But when it comes to the Freedom of Information Act, I've heard you, Ruth, say we don't have to follow that. But why not? It's our money. If anything, that should be first and foremost, is to make sure that the membership is informed. That's all I got to say. And
Thank you.
First of all, or second, third, Atia, Jerry, and Steve, is it everything you thought it was and more, or?
Thank you. Okay.
Can I respond to one of his questions? Okay. I want to address the 11 and 2 issue. And I swear I'm just going to say this from my heart, so please, Doug and Tom, stop me if I say anything wrong. That is not the numbers. I'm still learning them. That 11 and 2 issue is the first thing I brought up when this was presented to the board. It was the first thing that caught my attention, and I didn't like it. And I had to learn the reality of why we have that 11 and 2. And when you really stop to think about it, I always thought from my own personal experience, I own a lot, or my house, and I own 2 lots. I always thought that's how everybody else is. Well, it's not really the truth when you talk about those unimproved lots. There's 20,000 plus of those in good standing that are going to vote. There's only 13,000 of us residents that are going to vote. That's a very big difference. And this plan benefits us as residents. Yes, it benefits them too. But I didn't realize those lots are not people like us. They're trusts and corporations, and there's 39 entities that own 1,000 of those. So there are entities, trusts, think about it being passed down for generations and generations. I know people I work with that have a membership lot, they just pay the dues because it's been in the family for so long. They don't have it for the amenities. A lot of people are investing in those because they're investing in property, not the amenities. And I personally don't want this plan to fail because of people that don't live here. There's so much more in it for me and for you than to worry about that discrepancy. I know it sucks, and that's the way it is, but I want this to pass, and I don't want them to take it away from me. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move forward to Rules and Regulation Committee recommendation.
Page 73 of your board packet, you'll see that the Rules and Regulations Committee met on July 25th and voted in favor of passing the below resolution, which would change bylaw Article 10, Section 2. This would be if approved by the board, this would be the first of 2 readings. Effectively, this change would then make it so that the POA cannot vote the lots that are owned by the POA.
Okay, may I ask for a motion to approve this?
I make a motion to approve the changes to Article 10, Section 2 of the bylaws as recommended by the Rules and Regulations Committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Steve?
I just want to put a little context to my opposition originally. If anybody knows me, knows I've been around speaking about this issue in particular for a couple of years and have opposed the voting of the